Hello, everyone. Today on Break Fear, Find Freedom, we have something very interesting to talk about. I'm sure you remember lived experiences that we spoke to Oscar a few weeks ago, a few months ago. I don't know, time just goes, right? Who knows? And Oscar now is doing a very cool conference because he's seen that mental health is a huge thing, especially with people on the streets. Besides the addiction, and the addiction is a big thing, it's also the mental health. So you have people thrown out of their families and they're just stuck in the streets, and there's no solution. Well, there doesn't seem to be a solution. So I think let's chat to Oscar and see what he thinks about this. So this is me, Carina, and my co-host, Dino. And hello. Of course, Oscar Ortega.
Oscar!
Hey, guys. Hello, Oscar. How are you today?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome. Oscar, remind us who Oscar is so that people can understand where you are at and why you think that you can create this conference. I mean, what gives you the expertise to create this conference?
Love it. So I'm a kid who grew up in an hostile environment here in Southern California that was given little opportunity to really be the best he could be. And so over the time, I survived, various events and experiences such as addiction, homelessness, and now years later, I'm 36 years old, and I've learned so much through the information that trauma provides and empowers me. And over time, I developed so many skills and tools that I believe that many people are still not aware of or are disconnected from. And so through my own personal journey and experiences, I'm hoping that I could be the best facilitator I could be for others, and also be the best or create that pathway for others to learn from in whichever is able, whatever avenue they could be. So I'm here to do my best I can. And this conference is one of those avenues that I'm trying to create that for others.
It's freaking awesome. That is awesome. Carina, you didn't tell me. Well, I never asked who's the guest. I'm just like, let's go cold. Let's go. That's awesome. When was your sober date?
So my daughter is 12. She's going on 13. So I'm going on 13 years. I'm going
Good
on 13
for you.
years. Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you. I mean, it's been a journey. Everybody asks, how do you do it? What rehab center did you go to? All that good stuff. And I didn't go to any rehabs, and I don't even know how I did it. I know there was a lot of lonely times. There was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of disconnection from everybody and everything. And it was a long journey. It wasn't overnight, that's for sure. But it started overnight, right? It started one day to another where like I had to make that decision where like, hey dude, it's time. And so, but here I am 13 years later and excited about sharing my life and experiences with others.
That's great. What was your drug of choice? Because I mean, everybody's got their story, and everything is just really, really real to them. I mean, it's no joke. Addiction's no joke. But especially without rehab, what was your drug of choice?
You know what? I think I was addicted more to the street life than anything else because I grew up in the streets. That was my environment. But my drug of choice was at some point meth. Methamphetamines was bigger than others. I mean, I smoked marijuana. I did pills, shrooms. I mean, I did it all. But and you know what? And at the time, it wasn't because I liked meth more than others. It was just more available to me. At that time, the people around me at the time were meth addicts, and I just became part of that flock. So I remember when I was younger, I remember meth was my first experience with drugs before marijuana and anything else.
Wow.
And so
straight to the heavy stuff, huh?
Straight to the heavy stuff. You know, and I tell people, from what I remember, and now I'm not saying this to advertise the good and drugs or anything, but I remember I had a good time using drugs with a bunch of little kids just running around, getting high. But because that's all I knew, right? That was my environment. That's what I went to home to and I woke up to. So not until I got kicked out of school, when I started hanging out with people who just were not like me, who were living in the streets and just, you know, talking about nonsense, or, you know, everything was just outside of what I'd known. I was just a kid, you know, 14, 15 years old, doing drugs with like 40, 56-year-old guys. And so I became that, right? I became that environment where I got so disconnected from who I actually was, even from like the actual little group of druggies that I was hanging out with when I was just like a party drug, that now it became a serious addiction that I had to go steal, I had to go rob, I had to go hurt people to get my fix. And it was heavy. It was heavy. So that's part of the journey. And that's part of the stories that I like to tell, where there's a lot of kids out there still doing the same thing I was doing. And I think that's how bad the situation is, that I'm 36, 13 years later, 20 years later, I was an addict, you know, and now I'm still seeing the same repetition, right? The same stories. We're like, where's all the services, right? Where's everybody at? I thought we were helping people, and there's not much help. So I'm hoping I could at least create a new conversation of like, hey, dude, we need this, not that, and hoping we could help people in the right way when they most need it.
Wow. I think we've got a lot to talk about even after the show. But for all the people watching, sorry, Carina, you got me started. You got me started on this. But for everybody watching, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is a drug and addiction show." It is, and it's good, even if you're not, familiar with addiction or drugs. You certainly will be familiar with the horrible side of things if you make a wrong turn, and the way people claw out of it. I mean, you're talking inner strength. You're talking feeling hopeless, helpless, worthless. At least I felt that way. And as much as people say they want to help you, when I was down my lowest, all right, thank God I didn't do meth, but mine was just loads and loads of vodka for many, many, many years. They all express concern, yet nobody really is there to help you other than, hey, you know, you'll be all right, or, you know, a little bit of compassion. And I don't want to cheapen it, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, that's all they know how to do. So I'm involved kind of the same way you are, where it's like, maybe we have to spend more time educating people about addicts, because unless you're an addict, you can't possibly understand what motivates an addict. It goes past reason and logic. Well, why would they do that? I mean, you just stop doing it. You know, you can't. It's just, it's not you. It's somebody else. Is that kind of how you felt too?
Well, now me understanding what I know, yes. Back then, like, I didn't know any better, right? My brain didn't associate that with there was no understanding where all that pain came from. I didn't know any better. That was my surroundings. That was my life. And part of these stories, or part of the connection I want to make myself relatable to, is what my culture taught me to be, and what my surroundings taught me to be. And I'm not here to bang on my parents. My parents they're awesome people. They were young parents. They had 3 boys by the age of 22 years old. You know, they were working 2 jobs. They were living in the fields. They were just hardworking people. But they didn't come to America thinking, oh, I'm going to have a kid who's going to be an addict. What am I going to do? I mean, they come from a small little pueblo where drugs are like, maybe tobacco was a drug to them back in the day, right? So not that they didn't really care about us. They were providers, and they're still great providers. And so So, but that's how I see now when I see that we have failed society in a whole, where society has failed people like me as a young kid, where education had an opportunity to save my life, right? Teachers had an opportunity to save my life, right? Police had an opportunity to save my life. Anybody around me, any bank, any food restaurant had an opportunity to really see this kid is hurting. Why is this kid strung out in the middle of the street, right? And so, but no one really paid attention to this young kid just strung out on the street, who's homeless in the streets, and we still don't. So for me, it's how do I make something relatable to the people that don't understand what it feels like, right? I mean, it's all visual to people. For me, like, I don't know what a millionaire feels like. I've never had $1 million in my life. And when they start talking about money, oh, you don't know how to invest. I'm like, bro, I do not know how to invest. I don't even know I don't even know the feeling of like what's investing feel like. So I understand when people don't understand what an addict goes through, what the pain goes through, the loneliness, right? The confusion in my brain. We're like, man, what do I do? How do I make myself feel safe again? Right, brain safe. And so it's the hardest thing. Get someone to be empathetic with you when they can care less about them because it doesn't affect them at all. Like they go about their way and like, hey, dude, I'm sorry about you. They're super sympathetic. I get you. You know what? Here's a phone number. Hope have a good day. Good luck. But they don't be like, hey, dude, let me take you there. Let me walk with you. You know? And then let me wait for you outside the door. Just make sure that you get home safe. Well, let me get a hotel room for you. And I think that's what we're missing. We're missing a lot of that. We're in services today, rehabs, nonprofits, clinics, anything, they work from 9 to 5, right? Yeah. And as soon as they clock out of work, they get their pay, and then you know what? They go to their families. And not good. We all deserve to be part of the families, but people like me also deserve to be part of somewhere.
9 to 5 aren't exactly drug hours. They usually happen in the middle of the night. You know what I mean?
Part of my outreach, man, and I go around everywhere. I beg people to switch their hours. I beg people and be like, hey, dude, you know what? If you want to make a difference, start working from like 6 p.m. to like 12 a.m. when people most need you, right? People most need you at that time. But who am I? I'm just an ex-addict that doesn't know any better, apparently.
Yeah.
I think you have to break the fear. A lot of people are afraid. They're afraid they don't understand, so they're afraid. They're afraid of the addiction, afraid that maybe, you know what, hey, if I help this person, maybe I'll catch it or something. You know, people don't understand the whole concept. And that's why a conference is such a good idea. So you can teach. People need to understand and understand that at the end of the day, we're all human, you know? Whether you're homeless, whether you're an addict, whether you're an alcoholic, whatever it is, we're all people, and it's not a difference of you know what, you like this or you like that.
Yeah.
So education is very important in this kind of field, I think.
Well, I also think it's single acts of kindness. I mean, I'll give you an example without getting like into the about this particular city, but obviously in LA, there was a function that happened not too long ago, right? And for that whole week, I mean, first of all, for the whole year, for several years, nobody cares about how many tents are put up under those bridges and stuff like that. But because this was such a big event and all these people are going to show up there to this stadium, the city spent a week cleaning it up, which is basically, hey, come on, you can't have your tent here, get out of here. And then after the event finished, I guarantee you those tents are up. The city may go by the philosophy that, oh, you know what, we helped make our city beautiful, but they did nothing about the homeless issue. And like we just talked about, hey, I mean, are you okay? Or, whatever. I mean, they think throwing money on something is the answer. If you're an addict and you throw money at them and you're homeless, the first thing you're going to do is go buy alcohol or drugs. You are not going to buy food, and you are not going to, get a hotel. So I think that educating somebody on what it is to be an addict is important. but also, and I'm sure you got this covered. Just the next question I'm going to ask you is the education after somebody is in recovery, because at least what I found, and maybe you did too, is you get out and people are happy for you, but they don't want to trust you because they don't know, especially with the high relapse rates, if you're going to, just go nuts one day and just fall off the wagon. So it's almost like an arm's length kind of a relationship. And then they don't know, should I, have a beer in front of them? How do I act? They don't know what triggers you or stuff like that. Very, very normal, Now to somebody like me, who's out in recovery, I'm like, come on, guys, give me a break. You guys are acting weird. But for them, they're acting weird because they don't know how else to act. Do you guys find that too?
Yes, it's interesting because so for myself, an addict, as an addict, I would just manipulate the system to get what I want, or manipulate people to get what I want. And at this point, you still see that when you say yes to everything and you'll never do it, right? Just to get what you want. So part of the thing is that becoming homeless wasn't an overnight issue either. Becoming homeless was a journey itself, right? And the journey starts with all these stressors, pressures of people wanting me to be something, or I should have been something, or whatever it was, right? And then all of a sudden I'm homeless, and you see that today where we even put all these pressures on people to get out of homelessness. And so in services today, we offer so much stuff. We have billions of dollars into nonprofits that offers to homeless individuals. And then we're like, hey, dude, I'll give you this if you do this, right? But the guy's just like, dude, I just want to be at peace. Just get away from me. Stop stressing me out, right?
Yeah.
But we never do that because we need to show results. Does it work? Dude, well, it takes time. The brain develops slowly, but it does develop. And it reconfigures itself to its environment, and it will change. It will change. We cannot stop the change from the brain, and that's the beautiful thing. But services, people, clinicians, everybody, police, hey, dude, tomorrow I'm going to expect you to be a better person. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
why? I just got off the street.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I just literally, and you haven't even said hi to me. So you're right. There is no follow-up.
Right.
Even after the fact, there's no follow-up. There's no conditional follow-up. There's no love after the fact. We just expect people to, what, I did it, you should do it too. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, everybody's recovery is different. And the thing is, first of all, the amount of time it took you to get the way you were, like rock bottom, which is different for everybody, but let's just call it rock bottom. When you're sober, it takes almost just as much time to relearn your brain, because your brain is always going to go back to, hey, when I'm stressed, boom, I grab a bottle or I get high. It doesn't know any better. It's that default switch. And we've talked about this, Carina, on a lot of shows. How you change that default thing when you're on your road to recovery, I found, is that people need to feel purpose. People need that forward motion. You can't just be sober and protected in this bubble like rehab, or after rehab in your house, and you're saying, I'm going to be good. I'm going to meet different people. I'm not going to hang out with anybody. I'm not going to look at signs that offer alcohol. I'm going to walk fast past bars. That's not sustainable. Okay. I mean, you mean well, but that's not going to last.
Yeah.
And you're doing it. I'm not speaking for you, but I believe you're doing it because you found your purpose, right? That keeps you sober. Helping people, in turn, that love, that kindness is helping you too, right?
In so many ways. I became a father, and I had to take care of somebody. I had to learn how to love. That was the hardest thing ever. It took time for me to be an addict as well. It's not like I smoked meth and then all of a sudden I was an addict. It took a lot of practice for me to get to really be an expert on smoking meth. how to build a pipe. It took a long time for me to get an addict. So it took a long time for me to be who I am today. And if we apply today, see today we don't apply little common sense in the science world and to nonprofits. Meaning, if we would have applied the notion of the 20-30 or the 20-60-90 rule, which is the 20 days, it takes 20 days to create a long-term memory, right? 60 days to break a cycle, 90 days to create a new lifestyle based on that memory. If we just put that notion into play, the basis of science, the brain functionality, then we would understand it takes a long time to create that memory, the new memory, the fresh memory, the good memory, because the brain works on memory to change someone's lives. Mm-hmm. Now that takes time and dedication. That takes people like us to follow. That's why podcasts and media is so powerful, because it manipulates the way we think. And it's okay that we manipulate it from a bad to a good, because we're feeding information to the brain that is sustainable, that is long term, that is helpful, that creates tools for people to understand where the triggers are coming from, right? Understand where, like, hey, dude, I'm in need of something. Instead of me shooting up dope or eating 20 burritos to make myself feel better, I just could reach out to people like you guys and be like, hey guys, how you guys doing? Right? And then that feedback that you guys gave me before, that feeling, right? That memory, it's what triggers the happy sense of whatever it is. So that's part of that conference is, how do we introduce a new idea, a new approach, right? A new perspective into how do we service people, right? And I titled the conference "The Science Behind Public Safety," because we are public safety. We are first responders. As a matter of fact, I tell cops all the time, and I get him mad because I'd be like, dude, I think I'm more qualified than you to be a public servant. I mean, I've done.
You actually said that?
I do it all the time. I have thousands of hours of like dedication to my field of like expertise of just understanding human. You have 6 months of training, and maybe you go another training because you got busted hitting a guy, right? And you got to go into this mandatory training. But the only thing about you is you have a badge and a gun that makes you valuable in this world. But I tell people all the time, but you suck at it. You suck at your job, man. And they get mad, right? They get mad. So I put this.
I don't see why they would possibly get mad.
Because they think they're above everybody. Oh my goodness.
So anger management is not part of your group, right?
Okay, but hold on. Let me slow down because this event is not on banging on cops and law enforcement. That's no. This event is about, okay, so let's talk about public safety.
Yeah.
We need public safety because we have public disturbance, right? Public disturbance is a symptom or an outcome of human expression. Human expression is the symptom or an outcome of someone's individual environment. We're talking about homelessness, right? If we're talking about individuals on the street who haven't showered, haven't had a good sleep. Like this morning, I haven't had a good sleep for like 3 days. I was a little cranky. Mm-hmm. But I have a good support system. People in the street don't have a good support system. I had a fridge I could just eat. People don't have that in the streets. So they have to steal, they have to go panhandle, they have to disturb, quote unquote, disturb someone's peace.
Right.
That someone's peace calls 911, they come out, they're supposed to de-escalate and serve, but they actually do the opposite, right? They intimidate, they ticket you, and they make the situation even worse, right? They don't de-escalate the situation. They don't even help. They don't do the follow-up, Dino. They just walk away.
So, I mean, let me ask you something. This is coming from like a 7-year-old, right? Because I think what you're doing is fascinating and it's wonderful, right? Yeah. If I'm drunk out of my mind, and let's just say I'm disturbing somebody, I'm panhandling or whatever. You look at it as a disturbance. I'm looking at it like, man, I need another bottle because right? So they call the cops on me. The cop sees that I'm clearly like not fit to even stand. You're telling me the cops are going to give me a ticket and just leave me? They're not going to take me into detox. They're not going to take me to jail or someplace to sleep. And I'm dumb at this, seriously.
Well, you're an alcoholic for a long time, right, Dino? You probably have more experience than this, but
20 years.
20 years. So like, I think now because of COVID, things have changed, right? COVID, you can't incarcerate everybody no more because one, there's limited space. Two, you can't put everybody in there because it increases the COVID exposure to everybody. Mm-hmm. But in reality, it costs a lot of money to put someone in jail, right? Every time someone turns on the sirens, it costs a lot of money, right? The cops. So there's two things that happen, and this is what I'm trying to change here. I'm hoping policing changes. I'm hoping cops go around, pull over people, and be like, "Hey, dude, how you doing today, Mary? Well, how you doing today, Carina? Hey, Carina, you're okay? Hey, you know what? You're going too fast, Carina. Slow it down a little bit. But are you okay, Carina? Why are you going fast, right?" Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping the approach changes. What happens right now, you see it all the time, is with homelessness or people like me, we get profiled like that, bro. Right? As a matter of fact, if I'm going twice as fast as Carina, not because I'm a man or anything, it's probably because she's a little whiter or she looks a little better educated. They'll be asking me, where you coming from? I'll be like, I'm just down the street. What street did you take? And they're investigating the fact that I'm lying to the guy. And all of a sudden, that's a public disturbance. And if I get agitated because maybe my wife is pregnant, or maybe I got to go pick up my kids to school, instead of these guys helping me out, they think I'm a nuisance to the public, right? So they escalate the conversation. They might bring out something in the past, or they might find something that gets me incarcerated, or me raising my voice. But if Carina does it, maybe you, Dino, I don't know, but I'm not saying the cops are racist, but it is a fact. Data has shown that if you're whiter, light-skinned, have a nicer car, if you speak better, you are less likely to get arrested. So if Carina does the same thing I did, well, the cop probably like, "Hey, Carina, you okay? Okay, just slow it down next time, please." Right? Nobody agitates anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Public safety comes on the heels of people wanting a safer community, quote unquote, want their house to be protected because of property value, insurances. No, insurances don't like to pay their insurance tabs, so they like to keep their money. Right? Sure. Anything that disturbs public, quote unquote. But these days, it's not even physical anymore. If Carina, or not Carina, but anybody sees me down the street and I'm acting irrational, maybe like a homeless guy, "Hey, 911, there's some guy who's acting crazy. He might come over here. He hasn't done it, but he might." Cops come in to escalate this whole thing. All of a sudden it becomes a thing. They shoot this guy, they tase this guy, or they just make this guy life even more miserable. Right? Yeah. That's what we're trying to change here. But overall, we're just trying to be more empathetic about helping people, man. I could only imagine a police officer back in the day would have been, "Bro, you're 15 years old. What are you doing here, man? You know what? Let me help you." Yeah. Man, police officers make $100,000 a year. I mean, I'm sure they could afford $10 to feed me. Right? Yeah. Why is that should be against the law? Yeah. Right? When I first started my services, Dino, I could tell you I got like 3, 4, 5 tickets for helping people out just by feeding them. I guess it was against the law back then. Brother,
are you serious?
It's against the law to feed homeless in the streets. And the reason behind that, because if they get sick, the city is liable, or they don't want to pay the ambulance to come out and pick people off the street because it costs so much money.
I've never heard that. So you mean, and I've done this a lot. You go to McDonald's, you buy like a whole bunch of cheeseburgers, and I'll go and I'll feed some of the homeless. That's illegal?
Legal. Okay, but here's the kick, right? It always depends on which cop you're interacting with. It always depends. So this is important to say, because if we're talking about policy, right, it should be uniformed across all sectors in law enforcement. This is the way we do it. This is the way we treat people. Mm-hmm. But say the cop didn't eat that morning and he's just super fucking pissed, or he got divorced or whatever, and he happened to pull you over, or he happened to be that guy that saw you feeding somebody, and he's just having a bad day. Guess what's going to happen? Just as he did not eat, right? But if you're having the nicest guy ever, you're like, "Hey, dude, you know what? Just don't do it next time, please. I get it. I know you, but it's just against the law. I'm just doing my job." I mean, that interaction is so much different from the other guy who just hasn't ate. This happens in courts all the time, Again, stats shown that if a judge does not eat that morning before a sentence, he was most likely will give you maximum sentence on that penalty instead of just say, "You know what, don't do it again."
Wow. There's studies on this.
This is data.
Wow, you're opening up this is great
Makes
stuff. I'm a
sense.
curious guy. You're just like, okay. So you form this organization. How do you find people, and what is this thing that you are doing and want to do?
Well, when I opened up or started this nonprofit, it was just based on the idea that I could be the avenue for people to learn about mental health. Me growing up in the community that I'm still serving, I wanted to make sure that people knew what I knew, right? Not because I knew what's better for them or what's best for them. I knew this because this is like medicine, dude. You're sick, you'll get some pills and it makes you feel better. If you're not understanding yourself, this is where the solution is, for whatever it means to you. So the whole idea for my groups was, how do we make this information relatable to you? What does it mean to you? Identity, right? Emotional, social, everything, but really pertaining to you, involving your own history, your story. I wasn't really telling people what to do. I was just explaining this is the meaning. And they, through hand workshops, through storytelling, they would share, even if it was a lie. And through that lie, you could tell they know they could resemble that story to some fake, but it's really their story. Because you can't really say something that's not, you never experienced yourself, right? So the whole thing is, how do we make information exposed to people for free without asking them why, dude? Here it is, take it. Go about your day. You become the best you could be. And if it doesn't work for you, come back. Let me try to help you out the best. And it worked, brother. It worked because we didn't register anybody. We didn't ask for their income. We didn't ask about like, hey, dude, we'll be here, right? Here's some food, eat somewhere. Here's a couch, take a nap. And that's all we want to do. So that was a year before the pandemic. Then the pandemic happened. So we had to like really kind of revamp ourselves, or kind of just pivot to what's the next mission? What's the next goal? And so what happened was, food has always been a staple in our program. We have to break bread together. Even at the table, it doesn't matter who you are, brings equality to the conversation, because we're eating from the same source. Like, dude, how better could you be when you're eating right next to me? And so we did that. And so working with the people that I was working at that time, I knew that I had to do something. So we hired youth. We started doing tacos and burritos, tortas, and just feeding students. It got super expensive. We started partnering with people, and over the past going on 3 years now, we've done close to 1 million pounds of fresh groceries to our communities, man.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you, man. So the idea was,
do people donate to you?
Yeah, well, financially, or talking about the food side. The food side, it comes from different sources, from the farms, from Feeding San Diego, the San Diego Food Bank. Groceries, they come from restaurants who, they have to throw away their food, so we just take it and give it right back. So essentially, brother, I'm building, or still building, something that I wish I had when I was younger, right? Something I wish my parents would have, because we were the families picking up, rotten bread, right, outside of the church, and it's not that tasty. But check this out. This is where the cool part comes in. This is where the mental health piece comes in. If you're talking to someone like myself who is Mexican, right? I'm Mexican. I love my rice and beans. I love my salsas, right? So if you're talking about a person like me, an adult, maybe the parent or a mom or a dad in this case, if they lost their job because of COVID, right? They don't have any income. They can't pay rent. They're stressing now. They're about to become homeless. Their kid is doing drugs. All these stressors, right? Well, if you're talking about food, if you give them something that they grew up with, right? If they give them rice and beans, tortillas, salsa,
comfort food.
Comfort food, yeah.
Well, it brings back those special moments they once had when they ate and with their mom cooking for them, or wherever that memory came from. Yeah. Right? And for that moment, they could eat, right? And they could just reset themselves. I'm like, this is what I got to do. I got to go to work. I got to make sure my kid's okay. I got whatever it is. But that moment, that memory
brings you
back to your reset moment. And for that moment in time, if we do that all consistently, right? We're just helping the individual have that breathing moment to just kind of organize himself a little bit. So that is mental health, and we do it with so much love, brother. Again, we don't ask for how much. We ask like how much you want. You sure? You take some more, bro. You know what I mean? Like take it, because I know you're not going to throw it away. I know you're going to share it with other people. So
Yeah,
we put on some music. We opened up the shop and we hug and kiss, but we shouldn't be doing that because of COVID. But hey, dude, I can't help myself.
Because of COVID and a lot of people not being, coming together and stuff like that, obviously as much as before, you decided brilliantly to take your message, electronic. I'm technologically dumb. Okay, you could already tell, but you're talking about doing it Zoom style, spread the message, Billy Graham style through the internet, right?
For this conference specifically, Dino? Or
yeah.
You know what? I'm doing an in-person conference.
Are you really?
Yeah. I know. I actually, you know what? For the past 3 years, because of the pandemic, I wasn't sure if I was part of the problem, because I'm a people person, and I like to see people. And I did that throughout the pandemic, where I had community events where I fed everybody. I cooked tacos, and we had these big events right in the hood, and I just wanted people's spirits to lift up. Pandemic really hurt people, and it was killing people, but separating people wasn't the solution.
No.
I know that for a fact. And
isolation is horrible. And I went through it myself. I got out of rehab in the middle of the initial COVID lockdown, and although I was clean and sober, you almost went insane. I mean, I was the only person in the house, no friends, no family, no nothing. And I mean, if I was feeling that way, there's millions that are feeling the same way, which is bad enough if you're not an addict, but multiply that times 10 if you are, because your mind works. So go ahead.
So here I am. No.
Okay, tell us a bit.
I'm fascinated. So I'm stealing all the questions.
This conference is really exciting because it's an in-person conference. Tell us a bit about the conference. What are your ideas? What are your plans? Why are you doing it? What is the outcome? What do you expect to get out of it?
Yeah, so there's many little specks here and there. There's little different areas of focus that we're really trying to sink our teeth into, and one of them is really to capture the information from experts like myself and others in the field of trauma and social justice. Right, I really want to introduce what's the passion behind us, just conversation like this, what's the perspective, what works, what doesn't. And I'm really hoping to be a challengeful day for everybody, where we're challenging the idea of the old idea of what public safety has been to the new era of mental health and public safety.
Yes.
And so that's one of the biggest goals. And I'm not really hoping to really tell people, hey, you've been wrong this whole time, but hey, dude, bring down your defense barrier, right? Yeah. Bring down that role persona who you've been for 20 years and just be open to the new era of solution. Because I'm sure people, when they go home, they're the nicest caring individuals ever. They take care of their family. I just want them to take that model into the streets, right? Just make sure that we take care of each other through a mental health perspective. So that's one of the goals. And so the other goal is to really bring people to work together, something that we don't see enough here. We don't share information because of grant funding. Like, oh no, this is my people. I don't want you because I need to get the money to pay salary, right? And so, and I get the notion, I get it, but nobody should be, it's a nonprofit, nobody should be making over like at least $50,000, $60,000 a year, right? I mean, I get it, but everything should be putting back into the community that we're trying to help. And so I'm really hoping that we start creating this model of like connectivity, collaborative, supportive, like where I say, hey, Carina, I have this one kid, can you please help me out? I know he lives in Oceanside, but he might live in Vista. He has friends in Vista. He needs some help out there. Or this what's work, this doesn't. I just dude, I think it's time to really revamp our social services work, right? Instead of holding, share it, right?
Mhm.
So that's another thing. And then lastly, one of the things that I really hoping to do, at least through the lived experiences scope, it's really go back to what I did before, which is education on trauma and mental health. Because of COVID, we pivoted over to more in your face, I say in your face, in the community services, which is very tangible, right? The mobile laundry, the mobile food pantry, the mobile media center. But I lost my classroom back then. I want my classroom back. So hoping that this conference reintroduces back to that conversation of being that powerhouse of maybe just the avenue guide or the resource guide of mental health. So we're building a long sheet of services, mental health services, to add to a website, and for people to start networking really together, or just to have people know, hey, where to go, who to talk to, without being judged and all that good stuff. So I just hate the fact that we need to pay for information in this country when information should just be free for everybody and valid for everybody. So those are the goals. And so a little bit about the conference. It's going to be TED Talk style, where we have about 10, 12, 15 speakers that are going to go up on stage, have 10, 15 minutes. I definitely don't want it to be boring. I know some speakers love to brag about about the work, and they should. I mean, they're awesome people. And then we're going to have a moment of like breakout session. I'm going to feed everybody. We're going to just talk about what we learned, what we haven't learned, what you think. And then we're going to have the panel discussion. Now, this is going to be the good thing for me, because I want people to challenge us. I want people to say, no, we're wrong. Because what happens is that their brains are thinking. They have listened to the information that we have presented to them, and they were thinking so long to ask this question that is bugging them inside of them, because their brain is changing, right? And that's how we create change. So that's going to be the big part. And then towards the end, we're going to create this happy hour. And Dino, I would love for you to be there. I'm not sure how far you are from my location, but
about 3,000 miles.
Oh, that's not bad. You'll be here tonight.
But when is it going to be? When is it going to be?
It's August 10th. August 10th.
You know what? I'll be there.
Oh, perfect. Dino, I appreciate
I'll be there. I'll be there. And there's many ways we can network my foundation and yours.
Yes.
With the resources, networking of mine and yours, we're operating on all fronts, because addiction doesn't discriminate, dude. I mean, I know you're talking about a part of the population that usually hides behind a curtain. You're pulling back the curtain and showing the ugly side of America. And I don't mean ugly in a bad way, you know what I mean? But it's a guy on Wall Street is just as susceptible to this as a guy who's homeless, or as a guy on Main Street. I mean, it transcends classes and races. It's in everybody. And so it's a good thing. I will be there. I will be there. Just I'll get the information from Carina. We'll exchange numbers. I know we're doing a live show right now.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's going to be awesome. Sorry, Carina, you wanted me on this podcast. I can't take it. It's fascinating. I love it.
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I thought.
So we're getting good support. I mean, people are into this conversation because it doesn't happen enough. And if it does, it's like behind closed doors, or you know what? At the end of the day, we need policy to change. We need structure to change. And I know it's not going to happen, August 11th, after the day after the conference. But if we can get some leadership to change the way we see things, I think we're winning for the next generation, right? And I'm really hoping that my daughter and my son grow up in an environment that it's more of a peaceful, supportive, lovable environment where it's not so judgmental and so ignorant to the fact that there is bad behavior within leadership out there. So I'm hoping that I could be that little spark, and hoping that people like you guys will join us and be a part of it.
All right.
That's very cool. So 10th of August, we'll have all the details. Obviously, we'll lead up to it because you'll be doing marketing and social media, right?
Yes.
And a website. So the website, you've got a website, right?
Yeah, we have the website up. I'll share it with you guys. We'll have stuff, but I'll add some more information later.
Okay, so we'll have that. Is it me that has this feedback?
Always at the end of the show, Carina, your wireless things.
No, not wireless today.
I don't know. Just take them after this show. Take them and just throw them in the garbage.
We'll have all the details at the bottom of the description box, and yes, this is exciting, Oscar. I'm very excited for this opportunity and to change the world.
And we'll put it on we'll put his link on our site as well, so we can do whatever we can. This is going to be good. You know what? I'm usually never speechless, but you know what? Good for you. And good for what you're doing in the community. And, I say this all the time, and now you're saying the same thing, which is kind of cool. I always say a single touch can change the world. And that's exactly what you're doing too. So good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dino.
Well, thank you, Oscar. This was pretty awesome. And I'm very excited, and I'm very excited to be part of it. And yes, let's do something instead of pointing fingers and expecting other people to do something. That's the only way we're going to change the world, right? So Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. This was pretty awesome.
Fear, find freedom. Right?
Right. Carina, Dino, and Oscar. And we'll see you soon. See ya. Bye everyone.